Surviving the Survivor. We bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
What's up, SCS Nation? Welcome to Surviving the Survivor. It is the show that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime. And when there are major trials going on in this country, we bring you trial updates daily. And that is what we're doing with the biggest trial in the country right now, Sean Diddy Combs versus the United States government. And it is week 4, day 18 of testimony here. On the stand today, another victim of Sean Diddy Combs, who is using the pseudonym Jane, as in Jane Doe, not using her real name, and the video feed on certain things has been cut to the overflow rooms to protect her identity. She did take the stand later in the day yesterday, and we heard the start, at least yesterday, and today it has continued, of some of the most emotional and disturbing testimonies so far. This testimony, even more so, I think, the way it's being described than Cassie Ventura, is really gripping the courtroom. Jane is very upset. She is going through Kleenex after Kleenex as she is recounting this. And this is also testimony from much more recent years. Perhaps it is more fresh. And to be honest, none of it is, I guess, that surprising, but it is still unbelievable that this guy was getting away with these things. And we're going to get into it in a moment. But Jane did testify that she was in a relationship with Sean Diddy Combs from 2021 to 2024. So that is literally up until last year, for the past 3 years. And she, again, not so surprisingly, detailing drug-fueled hotel nights that she said Sean Combs orchestrated. Now, this is interesting because I'm thinking of this right now. After the Cassie Ventura video was leaked, little Sean came out with his Tootsie Roll, and he was almost crying with his hollow apology on Instagram. And that was obviously a PR move to save face. But as he's apologizing for that, you've got Jane now in his crosshairs at that moment in time, at least. I don't know at that very moment, but during that time period, this guy, and you see her wiping the Kleenex there. And also you notice there's no facial features. It's basically just a blur for the face. And even Sean Combs, they said today, was watching this testimony quite closely. And by the way, Sean Diddy got reprimanded, rebuked, chided, you picked the adjective, by Judge Arun Subramanian at the end of the day yesterday for looking at jurors, which we'll get into at the end of this a little bit. Today, again, the testimony continued with even more disturbing details about drug use, financial coercion, and how Combs allegedly controlled all of these encounters. And again, in a twist that I don't think a lot of people were expecting, Judge Arun Subramanian basically yelled at this guy, Sean Diddy Combs. He doesn't care that he's a celebrity. He's the judge in this trial. He's the boss. And he said, stop staring down jurors. So let's get into it. Today is Friday, June 6, 2025, in case you've lost track of the day, the date, or the year. Those are all three of them right there. The day started out with lawyers, as they often have done in this trial, in the morning, discussing future evidentiary issues. And this time it had to do with charts of text messages and an actual photo of Sean Combs' phone that was recovered from the phone of Christina Coram, who is his one-time chief of staff. Jane gets back on the stand, and she is on direct examination by Maureen Comey, who is former FBI Director Jim Comey's daughter, and a very good prosecutor in her own right. She starts off the morning by describing a trip to Las Vegas in 2023, where she says she flew on Sean Combs' private jet. And these are called hotel nights. Not to be confused with freak offs, but the verbiage changes a little bit. So here she was having quote unquote hotel nights, and that is described as sex with an entertainer, which are these escorts. Sean Combs, she said, frequently called Jane his freak. So don't think the word freak is done with yet, because now he's calling her his freak. Meaning, she said that he wanted her to be both wild and sexual. You get the feeling that Sean Diddy Combs really respected women. He really, appreciated them for their intelligent minds and good I'm joking. Obviously, he is objectifying these women to the core, and it's sad and pathetic. But that is Sean Diddy Combs. They had a condom conversation during a recorded hotel night. Again, hotel night, basically a euphemism for freak off. Video was played in court of a hotel night with Sean Combs, Jane, and a man whose name is Don. And keep in mind, all of this stuff is being excluded from anyone in there other than jurors. So they are not seeing this, only the jurors are. Now, Jane asks Don, who's presumably an escort, to wear a condom in this video clip. And Sean Combs jumps in and says, I don't want Jane wearing a condom. So now he's making health decisions for the women that he is dating. And the prosecutor, Maureen Comey, asked Jane, why didn't you insist on wearing a condom? To which she replied, and I quote, because Sean would be unhappy, which again goes to show the just the coercive control, for lack of a better term, that he had over these women. Jane is crying at this point, wiping away the tears, as you see there, and testifies that Sean Combs, quote unquote, liked recording me and the entertainers. This is now recalling an incident where she cried after one of these hotel nights early in the relationship. 2021, they're at the Waldorf Beverly Hills. She, and you'll remember this is very similar to Cassie's train of thought. She thought it was going to be a one-on-one date night, she and Sean. Instead, the entertainer shows up and he stays for 18 hours. And while the entertainer is there, Sean Combs abruptly just gets up and leaves. Jane begins to cry, and she describes Sean Combs as looking disgusted at her. He was smoking and playing music, and then again he just gets up and leaves. Jane's quote during sworn testimony, I just went through all of that, there's hours and hours of essentially forced sex play, and was feeling terrible that he was going to leave me alone, was her quote. I just went through all that and was feeling terrible that he was going to leave me alone. Again, this testimony today, apparently, according to all reports in the courtroom, had everyone riveted, including Sean Diddy Combs, who was like leaning forward and listening. But both the defense team and the government prosecutors, not Maureen Comey, but the others just listening in, were kind of mesmerized by the way she was delivering this testimony. Combs asked, when she did start to cry, if she was crying. He asked, are you crying? And she says he looked absolutely disgusted that she would cry. And then he told her he would, quote unquote, move things around, I guess, in an effort to ameliorate her. There's another occasion, and she says her memory is a bit spotty because she was using ecstasy a lot to numb the pain. She said she was having sex with a man named Paul. Later, she's in the shower with Sean Combs, where she begins crying. So this is the second crying incident that she recalled. And Sean Combs, being the ever-sensitive gentleman that he is, says, don't do that right now, and told her to stop crying. She was asked who did the most work during hotel nights, and she through a lot of tears and crying, says, "Me, I did the work." And she goes on to say, quote, "It was just all me. It was just all me." This poor woman up there, and she's got to now reveal this to the world. And I said this yesterday. Jody Sutherland says, "This is hard to hear. It sure is, and it's going from bad to even worse." These survivors are very strong for standing up to him with all that he's put them through. And I got to tell you, I've had casual conversations with people who are not really following this case, certainly not following it closely, but because they obviously all know who Sean Diddy Combs is, they kind of have blanketly told me that they think Sean Combs is going to walk. And I don't know. I mean, maybe the jurors, maybe there is going to be this jury nullification where there's just a fan, because he did have a lot of fans, where they're just going to say, "I don't buy it. I don't believe it." It would be, a travesty of justice, I think, if he just gets up and walks, but you don't know. In comparison to like the Alexander brothers, who, by the way, today, who are accused of very similar crimes and filed a motion today in state court to dismiss their case. It's not going to happen, but they're facing very similar charges, and I don't think there's any way the Alexanders walk, but here there's a fear that they might. All right, so we heard that this was going to happen, and it happened today, where Jane starts reading messages to Sean Combs. These are text messages from the year 2023. She wanted the hotel nights to end and to stop, and so she messages Sean Combs. These are direct quotes. "Ever since I opened Pandora's box, I've never been able to close it. Doing things that make me feel disgusted with myself." That was another text. "I feel it's the only reason you have me around and why you pay for the house." Again, very important. He's paying for her house, obviously. And this is how he would control these women. It was the health insurance through the company. It was the paychecks through Sean Combs Ventures or Bad Boy Records. He was paying rent for their apartment or paying a mortgage. And here you heard her say, "The only reason you have me around, and the only reason why you pay for the house is because I do this stuff." She says, and I quote, "I don't want to feel obligated to perform these nights for you." Rough to hear that. Sean Combs, again, being being comforting and consoling and a soft heart, says, "Girl, stop. Girl, stop." While she's messaging these texts saying, "I can't do this anymore," his answer is 2 words: "Girl, stop." Jane again testifies during this bit of testimony that she felt financially trapped and feared that if she stopped, he'd stop paying for her house. Again, a mechanism of control. Jane admits that she used drugs during hotel nights, and it's just interesting now. I don't know, maybe Diddy was onto the fact that people knew about these freak offs, particularly after the video in 2023 came out. So he changes maybe the language to hotel nights. So again, we go from freak offs to hotel nights. She says, "I took drugs to quote unquote make things easier, quote unquote. I didn't want to feel like it was too real." I mean, think of how sad that is. She's with this man who's forcing her to be with other men, and now she's forcing herself to take drugs because she does not want to feel the reality of the physical and emotional pain that she's in. She said there were 2 different times that she tried to avoid taking any drugs. The first time, she said, "I was just tired of doing that to my body," meaning taking all these drugs. But without the drugs, she says, the fantasy of it all wasn't there. It just wasn't easy. It was just too real that this was happening. And when she felt that way, she said that ultimately she asked for a pill. And guess what? Sean Combs gave her one. She says, just flatly, "I ended up asking for a pill." And sure enough, he hands it to her. The second time she said she tried going without drugs was in October of 2023. It was a quote unquote sobriety party at a Beverly Hills hotel where Sean Combs, I guess maybe wasn't drinking because he just took ecstasy and cocaine. Jane said she did not, and later she said she felt that she was just disgusted. The quote is, "I was just disgusted. I was just repulsed. I was just so mad at myself for doing that. I just deeply regretted that." The post-hotel nights routine. This is another thing that she discusses. She said she would return. So after they're at the hotel and after she's basically being coerced into sleeping with these various, quote, now they're entertainers and not escorts, but now after being coerced into sleeping with these various escorts, they would return a lot of times to Sean Combs' home. Jane ensured that Sean Combs would shower. I guess sometimes he didn't want to shower, and she said, "Please shower," which is pretty gnarly in and of itself. She said she would cook for him, and then she would massage him, and then she would put on his favorite show, which was Sesame Street. Now, I don't know what his favorite show was, but wouldn't be surprised if it was something like that. They cuddled. They felt really, she said, and I quote here, "I felt really happy to end my night with Sean. I felt really happy to end my night with Sean. But," she said, "I would really fight to block out just how sad I felt after. I'd really fight to block just out how sad I felt after." This is interesting. This goes to the RICO stuff here now, and it has to do with Sean Combs' drug resupply. When Sean Combs, she said, would run out of drugs during hotel nights, she says he would call an assistant, a butler, or security for these drugs. And one of those people, the assistant, the butler, or the security, would bring cocaine, ecstasy, Molly, Xanax, or Moke. And forgive me, I don't know what Moke is. However, in Miami Beach, people drive around a Moke. It's a vehicle that's like looks like a little sand dune thingamajig that I actually would love to get. Anyway, I digress. But he would ask, and they would bring cocaine, ecstasy, Molly, Xanax, or Moke. Now, this part is interesting because we're talking about racketeering. Is this a criminal conspiracy? Are they trafficking more than just sex? Are drugs being brought across state lines? In 2022, Sean Combs directs Jane to pick up drugs from security at his LA home and fly them to Miami. You heard that right. In 2022, Sean Combs directs Jane to pick up drugs from security at his LA home and fly them to Miami. Jane asked then Chief of Staff Christina Coram if it was safe to do this, and Coram, the Chief of Staff, said, and I quote, according to Jane, "It's fine. I do it all the time. Just put it in your checked luggage." And Jane said she did it on 2 occasions where she took ecstasy with Sean Combs after delivering the drugs. I think this ties into the RICO conspiracy because now they are trafficking drugs from Los Angeles on airplanes to Miami. There you go. And by the way, this always mystifies me because the guy's worth $1 billion. And trust me, I don't think it's too hard to get ecstasy in Miami, but he's risking it with these women flying these drugs cross country. This is, different but akin to Donna Adelson, who had all the money in the world to buy a round trip ticket to Vietnam, but she buys a one-way ticket. This guy could just buy ecstasy pills in Miami, but he wants, I guess, to save on costs. And now he has her deliver them from LA to Miami. This is interesting. Jane says she then, and this happened with Cassie too, she began to choose the entertainer. In Cassie's case, it was the escort. Initially, it was Sean Combs, again, same as with Cassie, who would arrange for the men for quote unquote hotel nights. Late 2021 or early 2022, Jane suggests that she should choose who the man is. and she chooses an adult film star, a guy named Sly, as in Sly Stallone, but not Sly Stallone, but same name. She chose adult film star Sly after seeing porn videos of him with Sean Combs. So she's watching porn of this guy Sly. She says, I'd rather have him than the other guys. And the quote is in sworn testimony, I just said to myself, if we're going to be doing this, I should just choose who is going to be on my body. Interesting. I was going to choose who's going to be on my body. She contacted Sly on Instagram through a DM and arranged flights and the first hotel night with Sly. And then she said afterward, they began scheduling with him frequently in Los Angeles, Miami, New York. LA, Miami, New York. I'm curious to see if Sly takes a stand. I would imagine he might. They say that Sly was paid between $2,000 and $4,000 a night. It was cash from Sean Diddy Combs. And sometimes the travel was actually booked via Sean Combs' travel agent. Therefore, there would be, I think, paper receipts to show for it. She was a rug mule, Gulf Coast girl says. Jane chose Sly because, and she says, quote unquote, he was familiar with me and because he, quote unquote, felt like a safe option for me. So think how sad that is. They're now at a point where she's so disgusted by the men who Sean chooses that she says, let me choose my guy. And she's literally choosing a male porn star that she had watched on video with Sean Combs. And now she's saying in open court that she would choose him because this porn star, who she doesn't really know, but I guess got to know a little bit, was the one person that she felt somewhat safe for. And you heard earlier that at one point, Sean Diddy Combs just ditched her altogether during one of these nights and went off on his own and left her with this guy. This was the final testimony before lunch. It was an emotional moment. She testified, Jane did, about one particularly disturbing 2021 hotel night encounter at the Hermitage Hotel. This was a hotel, by the way, where people took the stand from the hotel because there was a particularly destructive evening with baby oil and Astroglide that destroyed part of the hotel. And I think that there was also, this was the hotel where I think Sean Diddy Combs created like an inflatable pool or tub of baby oil for Cassie at that point to get into. So this is the same hotel. They must have loved having Diddy. When they heard he was coming to town, they'd probably have to put plastic down all over to prevent the oil from spilling. But she said at the Hermitage in 2021 at this hotel in LA, and I quote here, one of the men repulsed Jane. He was sweaty, smelly, and didn't look nice. Direct quote. He was sweaty, smelly, and didn't look nice. I just remember I was hesitant, Jane said. She says, I tried to seduce him with my body to just get through it all, but it was uncomfortable. And think about how sad that is. Now she's got no other choice but to try to seduce him just so she can make it happen as fast as possible and get him off of her. And she gives Sean Combs looks to show, hey, I wasn't feeling this. That's a direct quote. I wasn't feeling this. She said she was wearing high heels and lingerie, and Jane tried to dodge Sean Combs' suggestions to perform oral sex on him. So here's a big, sweaty, disgusting guy that she doesn't know, that she's very unattracted to. And now what does Sean Combs, the romantic, want her to do? He wants her to perform oral sex, and she's basically, I'm saying this, not her, was gagging, like she was just disgusted by this guy. And she says, and I quote, I wasn't feeling it. Combs then starts having sex with Jane while the man was still there. Jane says, and I quote, I just remember this man sweating on me. I just remember this man sweating on me. It's kind of making me lose my appetite at the moment. Eventually, Sean Combs dismisses the man from the room. What a nice guy. Jane testifies on why she engaged with the entertainer. She's asked by the government, well, why did you do this? And she said, and I quote, and this is part of coercive control and sort of the mindset of a lot of these victims, I wanted to impress my lover, was her direct quote. When asked if she wanted to have sex with them, Jane gave a very simple answer, no. She described another man, a guy named Chef, and he was selected after Sean Combs encouraged her to contact him. Now, I'm just wondering, because we're hearing this other testimony, by the way, not testimony, but we're hearing about these other civil lawsuits where Sean Combs was with guys. And now Combs is encouraging her to contact a guy named Chef. So it makes you wonder, is Sean Combs himself attracted to these men? It sounds like he was. So, maybe this was to Sean Combs's personal benefit. Maybe he liked this guy. Maybe this is some of the issues he was dealing with. Not that we care, but maybe this is what was going on in Sean Combs's mind. And then after reaching out to this guy, Chef, Jane says that they would have sexual FaceTime calls. And Jane would be asked to mirror the calls on TV so Sean Combs would watch, so he could watch. So she's now having essentially what amounts to FaceTime sex with a guy named Chef and Sean Combs, which, by the way, I didn't really know you could do this, but I guess you can transmit the image from the FaceTime call onto the TV. And now Sean Combs is watching her have FaceTime sex on the TV. This guy's just a horrible human being, Sean Combs is. She said she never saw two of the entertainers without Sean Combs. Combs encouraged her to ask for explicit videos and videos from them. He wanted explicit videos. So maybe little Shawnee, Tootsie Roll Shawnee, was taking these videos and going into somewhere and pleasuring himself to these men. That's my guess. That would be my guess. Guy's got some issues all the way around, I think. Frequency of hotel nights, that was another thing that was discussed from May 2021 to October of 2023. She said the hotel nights would occur weekly or every other week. Again, I ask, how did Sean Combs get any work done? I just don't understand. This is happening weekly or every other week. And remember, with Cassie, it would take days for them to recover. And this guy's running a multi-billion. Why do I feel some people just don't work at all but make a lot of money? And people who work a lot make very little money. But what the hell is this guy doing? I have no idea. October 2023 to February 2024, there was a break in the relationship. November, December, January, so a 4-month break. I have to use my fingers to count. After reconciliation, encounters then only happened at Sean Combs' Miami house, and they were less frequent, about 5 times between February of 2024, this is just last year, and Combs' arrest in September 2024. So again, he made that jackass half-hearted apology on Instagram like a clown, but while he's apologizing, he's doing this stuff with Jane, and now it's confirmed because he was doing this through his arrest in September 2024, and said that she said that the last encounter was the month before August of 2024. He's arrested in September, so August to September. I wonder what Janice Combs is thinking in the courtroom. Wow, I raised such a successful son. She should be humiliated by this as well, I would imagine, but it doesn't seem like she is. She's like, my son would never do such a thing. Jane does not know. She was asked, but she says she has no idea how many different men she had sex with over the full span. Needless to say, it was a lot. Now, an emotional note. Jane was very emotional during this testimony, sobbing when describing how happy she was cuddling with Sean Combs after these hotel nights, while also feeling very sad and disgusted about the rest of the experience. So bad that the U.S. Marshal, they oversee the federal courthouse, had to pass tissues to Jane multiple times throughout the morning. Her testimony started yesterday. Just to give a quick recap, Jane just describes the hotel nights with Sean Combs, because we did not get to this yesterday, that he introduced the idea of Jane having sex with other men and said it was his fantasy. I'm starting to think that good old Shawnee boy was much more interested in seeing the men than he was the women. First hotel night with the man from Cowboys from Angels. That is the escort service that Cassie Ventura was using, Cowboys for Angels. She said, sort of like Cassie, that at first it was sort of exhilarating. It was, something different and wild, blah, blah, blah. But then she was unable to, quote unquote, shut the door. You heard her use Pandora's box. Canine Catherine says these poor women just wanted to be loved, which I agree with. Who doesn't? And then they've got this jerk off who is just a jerk off. Jane's growing frustration. She said yesterday, by late 2021, Jane texted and told Sean Combs that she did not want to continue with these hotel nights, and that Sean Combs was dismissive and would just rush her off the topic. Jane felt obligated. She said that Sean Combs, was paying her $10,000 a month rent and would send her money. There you go. Paying her $10,000 a month rent, sending her money. And the relationship, if she broke it off, would affect her ability to work, and that money from Sean Combs' main income, aside from child support, from her son's father. So the main source of income is what we're getting at, was Sean Combs' money. So, yeah, it was tough, and she was kind of, I don't know, she was cornered into this situation. Now, to Sean Combs being yelled at by the judge, because this happened later in the day yesterday after the jury left, Judge Arun Subramanian warned the defense team, that Sean Combs could be excluded from the courtroom if he continues attempting to interact with the jury. The judge said he saw Sean Combs on 2 different occasions looking at the jury and nodding vigorously. That is a quote, nodding vigorously, during Brianna Bongolin's testimony. She is the one who was dangled from a 17th story balcony. And during that time, Sean Combs is apparently staring down jurors. Rosie says he's a master manipulator, while Judge Arun Subramanian is making sure that he is not manipulating the jurors. Subramanian reminds the defense that Combs is not allowed to make facial expressions or interact in any way to influence a jury. So there you have it. This is week 4, day 18. Janet True, I'll take a few comments here. New Yorkers are smart. He's not going to walk. I mean, I'll be honest, my biggest fear in this case is that one of Diddy's handlers gets to a jury's family that we don't know about, which wouldn't surprise me. And boy, would that play to the RICO charges if we knew that was happening. Rosie says his defense is as dirty as he is. They've got a job to do. I mean, defense attorneys can be slimy. There's no doubt about it, but they've got to dust things up and create reasonable doubt. Mother Ship here, he treated them like whores. He paid for them, and they could have walked away when they were done. A lot of us had trouble paying our rent, and that's one way to look at it. But Mothership, I don't think this takes into account the control he had over them, the celebrity that he had, and when you factor in those variables, the whole dynamic changes. That's what these psychologists have said all along. I don't think it was as easy as just walking away. Now, Mothership could be a juror. I mean, hypothetically speaking, there could be a juror like Mothership who says, hey, these women could have walked away. But what about firebombing Kid Cudi's car? What about going after Suge Knight with guns? What about dangling a woman off a sub? Could she have gotten away from being dangled off a 17th floor balcony? I don't think so. Did he get physical with Jane too, or threaten her? We haven't heard testimony. I haven't heard testimony where he physically beat her yet. I don't know if that's coming. I think she's going to be on the stand for a while, so we might hear that. It's a good point, though. By the way, 2:00 today, Dr. Detective Troy Looney on STS Talk is going to be doing a show about the RICO charges, and he's still an active detective. And there's going to be a redirect, which I have no idea how that works, but there's going to be a redirect here to Dr. Detective Troy Looney at 3:00. I think I'm going to come back because I've got the Seattle or Washington State hostage negotiator, Jim Fuda, and his wife is an attorney. And she works and worked with the whole Amber Alert system, which did not go off. I'm talking now about the Decker girls. Travis Decker is the man accused of murdering his 3 daughters. He is still on the loose, and there's some information. So I'm going to try to do a 3 p.m. show today on that story and get everybody up to date. And then next week, we should be back with regular programming. So people are still watching Lori Vallow. We're not covering it. I don't know. I'm just so Lori Vallow out. I'm beyond Karen Read out. Just beyond. I don't. Whatever's well beyond is what I am. I think of this girl, Jane or 50 Cent. The baby mother is beaten. The government proves it. It's a wrap for Sean Combs. Yeah, that could be it. And Gulf Coast girl here says it's not as easy as walking away when you're broken down mentally. You have to understand the dynamics of trauma bonding 100%. Carrie Lassiter's in the chat very often. By the way, hello to all the Cooler by the Lake, another one who's here all the time, and all the new names as well. But Carrie Lassiter, this whole thing is so disgusting. Diddy is sick and demented. I hope he gets max punishment for his abuse of these women. He needs to be taken down forever. I would not be all too sad if he went away for many, many years. This case leaves me slightly nauseous every day. I'll be glad when it's over, hopefully with justice served. I'm with you, Cooler by the Lake. Oh, it's 1:30, I think it is. Yeah, so in 6 minutes, Dr. Detective is discussing RICO charges. In 6 minutes, we're going to be redirected. So I'll take a few more comments. Sounds like Diddy practiced MK Ultra on these poor girls, which I don't know too much about, but we've heard about that. There's more, I would bet, from Sherry Haas. Children, demonic rituals. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. Rosie, love you back. Thank you. Here's Mothership. She could be a juror. I don't know if Mothership, I guess it's a woman. It's a mother. He paid for them. They went willingly and quit when they got tired of it. That's how that works. It's a little, Mother, with all due respect, a little bit ignorant thinking, because it's not quite as simple as that. There are other dynamics in play. All you have to do is talk to any psychologist who will tell you that. You just heard $10,000. It's a lot of money. That's what he was paying her. He's basically giving her an allowance. How do you function in society with no money? You don't. So she was tied to him emotionally, but also financially. He better get life without parole. He's walking on serious charges. I wouldn't be so sure, Mother, but you might be right. I don't know. You could be right. I'll tell you this. It ain't stopping. If he gets back out, there's no way it's stopping. Sherry Haas, love you. I know you're new here, but I don't know. At this point, this is an absurd, to me, with all due respect, absurd that 7,000 people framed Karen Read. That the whole world is in on it, right? It's just, it makes no sense. And those are not dog bites on her arm, by the way, because dog bites would be two-sided. So here comes the hate mail. Here it comes. Here it comes. Survivor C, thank you for this. What time do we have? 1:26. Take another minute or two of comments and or questions. We will. There are probably some victims who can't testify anymore. There are, one witness already said, I'm not coming and testifying. So there's no doubt that Sean Diddy Combs has influence outside the courtroom. And again, I said that earlier. It's one of my fears is that one of Diddy's handlers, and he has fixers, right? He has people out there, the Ray Donovans of the world, but the real ones who are out there. And who knows if they have gotten to these jurors. You just don't know. I really hope not. So, all right, you guys are going to be redirected in about 2 minutes' time. Dr. Detective Troy Looney, he is an active detective in Akron, Ohio, homicide detective, financial crimes detective, so he knows how to combine all of this stuff. And he's going to be talking specifically about the threshold for RICO charges. Owasso Egan, this man is pure evil, and I would have to say 1,000%. Yes, keep an eye at 3 o'clock. I think we're going to bring you the latest on the Decker girls who were allegedly murdered by their father, who is a ranger in the United States Army and still on the loose, considered to be armed and dangerous. That's coming up at 3 o'clock. Love you, America. Justice for Sean Diddy Combs' victims, not for him, for his victims. We will see you a little later today.